put it in perspective and say it's nothing to what the people back home in Christchurch and the people all over New Zealand are going through, because it has affected the whole country, and the whole country is hurting immensely, and the team feels exactly the same way.
Meanwhile, organisers of the Rugby World Cup say that Tuesday's earthquake in Christchurch will not stop their tournament from going ahead later this year. Christchurch's AMI Stadium is scheduled to host 7 matches during the tournament in September and October. The 6.3 magnitude quake damaged the playing surface, and the stadium is expected to be out of action for at least 3 weeks. But accommodation for rugby fans could be the bigger problem. It was already in short supply before the quake, and now several hotels have also been damaged.
We just have to wait and assess it as it comes through. It'll come through in a reasonably timely fashion. We can afford not to put pressure on people in Christchurch at the moment. I mean, their hands are full just with the rescue effort itself, so we don't want to increase the burden on them.
And that is all the sport for now. Tamor.
Joe, thanks very much indeed. Now, we'll take a short break and then bring you the latest from Libya in just a couple of moments after the check on the world weather. In the meantime, if you need to keep a check on what's going on, remember our website, aljazeera.net/English.
Over the north of Beijing, as the visibility drops, you'll still see things with perfect clarity.
Welcome back to International Weather Forecast. First of all, starting in the United States, we have seen quite nice weather across the southeast part of the United States over the last week. That is all changing, though. Take a look at the satellite image. These clouds right here are the beginning of some severe weather we expect to see from Friday night into Saturday. Now take a look at the forecast. Notice all this rain shower activity here. That is where we expect to see the severe weather. And when I say severe weather, we're talking about strong winds, hail, as well as tornadic activity. Up to the north towards parts of Boston, New York, as well as Washington, that's all going to be different. We're looking at some very heavy rain and snow and possibly some travel delays. Out to the west, San Francisco, rainy conditions for you. Heavy snow out towards the east of there. Into the ski resorts, looking quite nice, but down to the south in Los Angeles, we are expecting some light showers into their forecasts. Now down towards Central America, we had seen some very heavy rain showers for parts of Panama, Costa Rica. Those are going to start to lighten up, but very heavy rain showers across parts of Venezuela over the next couple of days. Cuba, though, you remain dry with temperatures at about 29 degrees. Over towards Europe, we are looking at some messy weather, especially down towards the central part of the Med. That weather is going to stay in place. We are looking at some localized flooding for Italy, Greece, as well as Turkey.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Unpopular with some at home, untested overseas. The first year has not been easy for David Cameron and his coalition government. In conjunction with U2, Al Jazeera asks your questions to the British Prime Minister. World View, an interview with David Cameron at this time on Al Jazeera.
It's filled with surprises, yet with a touch of the familiar. It's all those things you imagined, and some you didn't. It intrigues and fascinates, and often delights. It's a story of the world, and it's one with many endings. The 5-star global network, fly to over 90 destinations on board one of the world's youngest fleets. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Libya's leader tries to claim the moral high ground, blaming drug-taking youths and Osama bin Laden for his nation's uprising. Hello, you're watching Al Jazeera live from Doha. I'm Tamor Nabili with our live and continuing coverage of events in Libya. New claims that more than 2,000 might now be dead, and the country is now facing expulsion from the UN's Human Rights Council. Gaddafi's personal fortune may also be under threat, as Swiss authorities say they're freezing his assets there. And Libya's former justice minister tells Al Jazeera that Gaddafi has chemical weapons and is not afraid to use them. Well, Libya's leader has compared himself to Britain's Queen Elizabeth, and he's blaming dissent in his country on Osama bin Laden. In a second address to the nation since this uprising began, Colonel Gaddafi sounded as defiant as ever, but notably this time he spoke via telephone rather than in vision. Meanwhile, a French human rights chief has claimed that more than 2,000 people have been killed so far. Lawrence Lee reports.
The latest town to experience heavy fighting isn't very far from Tripoli, and that perhaps explains why protesters from Zawiya have told Al Jazeera that the army came to the town and opened fire on them with heavy artillery, their hunting rifles no match. Witnesses said at least 100 were killed, and they expected the army to return after dark.
We asked them to stop all their fires, but they didn't reply. The shooting was direct to the people. They shot the people in the head and in the chest. Direct so they were trying to kill the people, not terrifying them.
If that's one version of events, the other came from Gaddafi himself. He turned up by telephone on Libyan television with a message to Zawiya. He said the town had been infiltrated by Al-Qaeda, bin Laden, drugs and madness.
Why did Al-Zawiya get involved in these issues like the bin Laden related matters? They have been brainwashing the kids and the young people of that area, teaching them how to misbehave. And those enemies who have been training your kids, those are the ones who are under bin Laden's influence and authority.
The Gaddafis are certainly not short of opinions on what's happening in their country. While his father was blaming Al-Qaeda and drugs for the revolts, Saif al-Islam Gaddafi once again accusing the outside media of invention and lies.
We have to understand that the conspiracy against us is not coming from Libyans. It is coming from our Arab brothers. They have used their media to spread lies and deception. Tomorrow, all media is coming and they will film everything. There is also an investigation committee, which includes foreigners. You will discover that we were deceived. You will find that this was the biggest lie to Libyans in our history.
As well as all these observations from the Gaddafis, Libyan TV has been showing other pictures aimed at putting the fear into the opposition. It isn't clear whether these men are alive or dead, though at least one is still moving. There was a message as well: give all your weapons in and we won't harm you. It's unlikely to be believed by the protesters. It's hardly surprising the government wants the opposition to agree to a weapons amnesty. These images from Misrata in the west, said to be the scene of new fighting after falling to the opposition, suggest the uprising has as many heavy weapons as the army. During his latest address, Gaddafi offered the opinion that Libya's tribal leaders, some of whom have been meeting in Al-Baida, should be taking more responsibility for local government and controlling their young people, though here they said they were more interested in the United Nations coming to save them. Gaddafi said he himself had become more of a symbolic leader of Libya.
As the proverb says, you carry a leaking bag full of water, it will make your backside wet. And that is your responsibility.